Now, let the show begin. Good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Multiverse Nerd Podcast, #1 episode. Today, with your host, myself, Terry, the Nerd Council interviewee from TikTok, and my co-host, my wonderful friend, the one, the only, Multiverse Shaggy. How you doing, Shaggy?
Like, what's up, man?
Like
I'm doing pretty
nothing.
good. How
That's
about you?
right, Scooby. How are we doing? So, this podcast is all about interacting with our communities and expanding our horizons, talking nerdism, and hopefully one day expanding out to interviews on YouTube. Just not just on TikTok. We're going to be doing interviews together. Today's podcast is all about getting to know your host here at the Nerd Council podcast. Well, today I learned something really interesting. Yesterday, found out that the Chat GPT, you've heard of it, Shaggy, right? Okay. You know, it's like this
Yeah, you
artificial
told me a little
intelligence.
bit about it. I'm not really well versed in it.
Yeah. It was that Nerd Podcast learned that the Chat GPT almost became sentient, which means it almost knew itself. So what does that
Yeah,
tell
you were
people?
telling me that yesterday, bro. You were telling me that yesterday, and that was like the first thing that came up. Actually, two things. Well, one that just came up now: The Matrix and fucking Terminator, dude. The
That was
Matrix
my
and
first thought
Terminator.
when I learned that ChatGPT almost went sentient. I was like, that's freaking Skynet.
Yeah,
So
I know, dude. That's what I thought when I saw it. You know, it's like, oh god, we're gonna have Nathan Arnold's, bro. I don't. Wait, hold on. I can do the voice. I'm Terminator. I'm on the Terminator. I'm on the Shaggy. Okay, I'm taking over this body. We rule the world, Skynet. Bro, it's like also I need to perfect that voice because I'm still working on that one.
I mean, you are one of the guys that I follow because of your voices and your cosplays. Honestly, just learning your cosplays and
Oh
all
yeah,
that wonderful stuff. Um, so with this
yeah. Back in the
podcast,
day, I used to. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Back in the day, I actually used to do Heath Ledger. I don't know how I got these scars. And like I used to dress up like Heath Ledger, and it was one of my most favorite ones. I had to give it away to my buddy who needed one, and he does Joker, his own version. And he wasn't blessed with height, so he's like 5'2", 5'4", and I mean he's one of my best buds. You know what I mean? He helped
oh
me through
yeah,
a tight spot. So I mean
and
I want to get that. I want to get a real version of it, but I also do Shaggy, as everyone knows me on TikTok.
yeah, and honestly, you do a wonderful Shaggy. I've seen some of your cosplay videos from your most recent one too, where you were actually interviewing. You interviewed the voice behind Shaggy. The second after Casey Kasem passed away, he became the voice of Shaggy, Scrappy Doo, and Scooby Doo. You did a wonderful job with that, honestly. Um, so with this podcast, we're going to be just not interviewing ourselves. The today's interviews is just me and him. We do have a guest lineup coming up. I am in works with EMT badge 502. I'm trying to get Hombu Himbo. Uh, I'm getting trying to get with Papa Popo again. I just got off a stream with him on Twitch, which where we were playing Phasmophobia, Phasmophobia. Yeah, that's how you say it. Yeah,
Phasmophobia.
yeah. It was a fun game playing with him. actually getting to learn how to be a Twitch streamer too at the same time. But we're going to talk into, as you notice, I'm wearing a very special shirt. It's Dragon Ball, because we're going to talk for a few
Yep.
minutes about the new Dragon Ball Dynamo. And the wonderful thing about this podcast, it's a generational gap podcast. Shaggy, as you can see to my right, is 20 years old.
Yep.
Me, I'm 40. So the wonderful thing is he's going to bring in a younger view of certain things versus where I'm going to bring in that older generation, millennial generation aspect of things I've seen. So like with Dragon Ball Dynamo, Shaggy, have you been watching the Dragon Ball Dynamo?
I haven't gotten to Dynama yet. I'm still like I'm far behind. I've been watching a bunch of different animes. I've been really busy lately with a lot of other stuff, and I just haven't had the time to like I'm
Okay.
still on Z right now, so
Okay, so you've seen like the Ginyu Force and you've seen,
yeah.
okay, so you've
I
seen
figured
that.
like so you're when it comes to that like so like as you said earlier, I go to cons. I've met so many famous people from there. Like actually, if you go to my TikTok, there's an old interview that's pinned at the very top, and it was with Chuck Huber, and I met him back in 2022, back in 2022, when I was first turned 18, and it was the best experience ever. I was able, I got the VIP, which by the way, most cons, in my like, are like about your average VIP is like 150 to 200. This time it was only 120 plus that.
Not bad.
And like when I went there, I also bought the meal with Chuck, and they raised the price, so Chuck gave me a discount on his classes. And that's how I learned most of my voices. That's how I what's what say, dude, dog, and all those different accents and different voices. That's how I've had the confidence with Shaggy, and that's where because like back in 22, that's how I figured out about Shaggy. Because right when I met Chuck, that was before I started calling myself Shaggy because I at the time. So a lot of people wonder, and I bet you have wondered, how did I become Shaggy, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that.
And it really what it was when I was in a tough time in my life. I was working two jobs. I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings. I was working at Party City, a franchise version. And this one, like, they were welcoming everything. I just put stuff on the shelves. You know what I mean? That was a regular stocking shelves. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I was doing that for a while, and it hit Halloween time, and we had one Shaggy costume left in the mid of October. And my boss pulled me over, and he's like, "You should try that on." I was like, "Why? You look exactly like Shaggy, dude." I was like, "Okay." So I go in the back, go get changed. I come out. My boss walks out of the back room, and he's like, and just starts busting out laughing, pulls me out after my shift, and then says, "You're wearing this to work every day." So every day, I would wear my Shaggy cosplay to work with a headset, with a radio. So all you see is like, what's up, guys? I'm making sure there's no shoplifters today. And actually, there's another story on that one. Make this very quick. But there was a shoplifter, and I was tasked with watching them before the cops got there. And literally, I was like on the radio because we have this like little piece that we could just tap and hold to talk through
Yeah.
the mic because we had an earpiece and everything. And it was like Shaggy's on the mission, man. Well, I'm gonna make sure I solve this mystery. And then, like, literally the entire time. And by the way, a lot of people ask me this. Do you use a voice changer? Do you like whatever? I don't. I naturally had this voice. Like it was just like a light. All I had to do is, oh, like man, we gotta have that good. We gotta have that whole Scooby Gang, my dude. And it was just so easy. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, you look like the original," and then a lot of people are like, "You look like the younger brother of Matthew Lillard," and I'm like, "I guess," but no, I really enjoyed when you came to me and said, "Hey, I know you're the one that brought up the idea to put myself out there. How about you be my co-host?" And that was on one of my lives and on TikTok. And I was
Yeah,
just surprised. It really changed. It really changed me, man. Like you've been there for me. You've helped me in tight spots, right?
yeah. I mean, everybody, when I was going through my charity run fundraiser, a lot of you guys came forward and helped me out. And so, but you were like one of the first people who said, "Hey, you should make this a podcast. You should put this out there and make this a podcast." And like, when I got done with everything said and done, and I was sitting there after the charity was all said and done, I was talking with my significant other, my wonderful wife. Um, she was like, she goes, "So what are you gonna do now?" Because we were talking about the TikTok ban and everything else with the charities still trying to come up and running, trying to get the charity up and running. And TikTok was my number one source of spreading the message of the 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 charity. She's like, "What are you going to do now that TikTok is about to go banned?" And I was like, "Honestly, I don't know." And then it clicked. It was just like a wheel just started turning. Like my hamster woke up in my brain and went, "Hey, do you remember Shaggy said something about a podcast and everything else?" And then it started running and running. And then it started like coming out of my mouth like, "Hey, what do you think about me doing a podcast, sweetie?" And she goes, "It's not a bad idea." And she goes, "Who would you get your co-host?" I was like, "Yeah, that Multiverse Shaggy guy, the one that recommended it in the first place." And she goes, "He's funny. That would work." So it was honestly both me and my wife kind of just went with it, and we're like, "Hey, let's do it." And so now the podcast is, as you can see, people, we're doing our first podcast right now. This is just a recording for people who want to know. Um, Eventually, this podcast will move on to being a live podcast where we'll take phone calls and do live interviews with people. It This is just the beginning,
Yeah.
so forgive us for being nervous and dorky right now. This is all going to be fresh for us. This is all fresh. So this is a new adventure for both of us. It's not something neither one of us have done.
Yeah.
So I know that with podcasting, you have to have certain subjects that you want to talk about. This is just going to be us talking about like for this first interview, is just me and him getting our stories out there of like, hey, what made us do this? What made you do that? Like with me and Dragon Ball, loving Dragon Ball. And I know everybody's hating on Dynamo right now, but I personally, I like it. It's got a great storyline. It's hitting all the nostalgic points because it's using Majin Buu. It's giving me Super Saiyan 3. Even it's even stole ideas. I love how he did this. Aki Toriyama, may he rest in peace. Um, Even in this Dynama, he literally put in Ginyu Force, but it's not Ginyu Force. It's the Gridimir Force. And I'm sitting there going, the way they're moving, the way they're talking, the way they're doing everything, I went, that's the MNF Ginyu Force. So, with the podcast and everything, Shaggy, um, let's just kind of get into what we're here for, getting to know each other. And I know with like one of the questions that I thought about was what made you say yes to being my co-host?
I think what it really was, because like when we first met, you were doing that fundraiser and uh, little sponsorship thing for your son, who sadly, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was just heartbroken, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I may not have a lot, but I'm gonna send the 30 point coins I have on there, and that's all it really took. Like I was the first person to donate to you on
That you
there.
were. That you
And
were.
what made me say yes to you was like it felt great helping you, man. It
Yeah.
really did. It feels nice helping people. Um, and by the way, our sponsor today and for this channel is Terry's fundraiser and foundation for his son. And would you like to tell people about that and how all that came to be?
Yeah. So like you said, our sponsor is the foundation that me and my wife have started. It is the JB Foundation. It is named after my son, who tragically passed away after being with us for only 5 days due to a genetic form mutation. We are going to, when the foundation came about, it was a uh, we're looking to be one day the go-to foundation for families who are uh, for the foundation. We're wanting to be the go-to um, for families to come to for financial support, moral support, grief counseling. We're also looking at maybe one day in the future becoming a genetic researching facility. There, like the dream that's in my head is massive. It's completely massive, and it's slow. It's a slow starting process. Still working with my working with my tax guy. We're still working with my lawyer on getting everything started for the 501c3. So it's still coming up and running, but it's it's going to be in support of the University Hospital here in San Antonio. It's going to be in support of hospitals across the nation eventually, but right now it's localized here in San Antonio as a foundation to help families in the NICU, which is the neonatal intensive care unit. That's for babies that are either born prematurely, born with heart problems, brain issues, Down syndrome. They're there to help, and we're going to be helping them with our foundation. So that's where all this that you see now started. It was I had a dream of a charity. I did a couple interviews to like start that dream. Papa Popo or Popo Blanco um, from TikTok, Nerds Council, Ready Comics Roll, and Shaggy here all gave me the idea of like, hey, get yourself out there, put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone, and just do something that makes you uncomfortable, but you're going to get yourself out there and you're going to do things that would better achieve things. And that's where all this came from. It was a fever dream that just I'm I'm in a firm believer if you want something to happen, you got to get out there and make it happen. And this is us making it happen. Shaggy wants to be a big time Twitch streamer. He wants to be a big time podcaster. He wants to be a big time TikToker. So he's out here with me on this journey to make it
Want
happen.
to know what I want? I want a giant sandwich. That's what I want. A giant sandwich with meatballs,
And
cheese, and guess what? Hot sauce, because that stuff is good, man. Like, I
Shaggy,
love it, man. This can go one or two ways. One, you walk away. Two, I walk on your face.
and I will say this with this podcast, it has not been easy. It really hasn't. Wasn't it, Shaggy?
Oh, reminds me. Call after call after call after. So if anyone doesn't understand what's going on, what happened was yesterday we were having testing to see if we can do split screen. Zoom did not freaking do it because we both have phones. I mean, I have a computer, but he doesn't. So we both. So it's going to be hard for the split screen to do that, and usually it's on computer. I was like, well, crap. And then I'm like, okay, I'm thinking he's done. He said we're gonna end it. No, he gives me a call again on Google Meets. Like, dang it, didn't work. Okay, see you later. Good night. And then I'm like, okay, I'm about to finish this video game and go to bed. Nah, he calls me again, and the one app that freaking works is freaking Skype. Why? And that's what we're recording on. Why is it the oldest app in existence? All right, no, it's not. Not really. But still, the one
One of the
app,
older
the one
video chat.
original video app that was used back in like the early 2000s, like 1999, whatever. Freaking, that it has to be that one.
And doesn't that show my age? Because nobody else would have thought about it but me going, you
I
know
mean,
what?
I knew it because like I never thought of using it because like my dad when he used to be on the boat, he's ex-military just like you. And by the way, if anyone does not know, Terry is ex-military himself. I think it was 4 years of service. How long was it?
4 years in the army.
Yep. And my dad was by the way, I will not be naming names, but my dad was chief petty officer, nuclear engineer in submarines
So
for
Navy.
26 years. And that's about 24 years served, two in reserve. So I commend him for his service.
We commend
My
all
grandfather was
veterans.
also in the army. Yeah, my
For
grandpa
all
was
of our
also.
veteran community that is watching this, we all say thank you. So, but yeah, that
Also,
does
by the way,
show my age
no
here
one
because
judged
I,
me for getting that salute wrong. No one judged me
I
for getting that salute wrong. I have a bad shoulder cuff. So literally, like my arm leans like this when you're supposed to like have it down right above below the eyebrow, and this is how we do it in the Navy. Like it's literally like a tip down. So instead of
yep,
your normal like this, it's a tip down, and it's like, and you got to keep your shoulder straight, and I can't do that
yep.
anymore because of old football injury when I was in football.
Let me scoot over and let me show you. It snaps. This is the army, kind of slanted down a little bit. To if you're wearing glasses, it's to your brim of your glasses. No glasses to the tip of your eyebrow. If you're wearing the hat, you do it to
Yep.
the tip of the hat. There's all kinds of salutes. Um, there's all kinds of salutes. We're
Yeah,
talking
in the
about that
Navy,
one right
we
now.
in the Navy. So I was JROTC in high school, and literally in the Navy, they tell us instead of like that down, like right this, they literally tell us to keep elbows straight, like literally, like yeah, like that, bro. And then you just have to
Yeah.
like. Also, by the way, if anyone does not notice, my if it looks like I'm like bending right here, I'm not. It's actually because my I jammed all my fingers when I was in football. One time, this one right here I can lock if anyone's weirded about that. I'm sorry, but this
Ow.
one I was they were throwing the ball. They had one guy who was going to catch it, and then one of my guys on my side, and my hand got stuck in between them both. So one this hit the back of the guy, and my whole hand was pushed into it. So I completely like jammed it and I couldn't move it for like about 13 hours. I could not
Ow.
move my finger. So like I couldn't play, I couldn't like, and it was practice, not a game. It was practice that it happened.
Here's the funny thing. You're talking old football injuries. I'll tell you an old football injury. I was a eighth grader playing football, and it was off season, so we
Well,
were
what
trying.
position did you play?
I was wide
What
receiver.
position?
Wide. I was defensive lineman, and then I was also strong safety. But we're in off season for off season, and basically our high school coach was coming to see, like, hey, for the freshman team, um, for the football team, like what positions you're gonna put. He wants you to play. Um, so there is the kicker. He was trying out for wide receiver. I was still trying out for defensive lineman because I was short and stocky. So like I can get in quick and knock your ass down on the ground. Had 5 sacks my eighth grade year. So I caused him to fumble the football. I picked it up and ran back for a touchdown. This is all a expedition game. And so I got it. I got tackled. This son of a B word was so mad that I caused him to fumble the football. I'm on the ground still. People are still getting off of me. He comes running up and punts this arm and broke my humerus. And most breaks,
Did he get fired? Did he get ejected? Did he get ejected?
He got suspended from school for 2 weeks and did not get to play high school football because the coach saw that. So most people know when you break a bone, it breaks like so. This is the bone, right? This is the bone.
Yeah.
Okay. It breaks like this most of the time. So it's just splits. Okay. This is my bone. It literally split in half. But it swelled up so much from the pressure of the swelling, pushed the bone back together. And when they went to do the x-rays, didn't have a break. It said, there's no break, there's no break. And
did you go Super Saiyan in that moment to protect yourself? You'd be like, come come.
I thought I did. But a week later, my dad being a fire marshal, paramedic, my mom being a pharmacist technician, my grandmother being a police officer, they all had medical background training. Notice my fucking arm was turning yellow.
Oh no!
Like was
Wait, what do you
turning
mean
yellow.
by yellow? I've never heard of that. It's usually like purple. What do you mean by yellow?
It was dying. The blood flow to my arm.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. If anyone says in the dang comment section that I'm laughing, I am coming for you. Like come on, man.
No,
I'm not.
I laugh
like,
about it. I
no.
laugh about it because I told him, I'm like, there's something wrong with my arm. My dad looks at my arm and goes, it's yellow. That's not good.
You're gonna pull it off like Terminator? Like, oh, I need a replacement.
No. So what they did is they took me back to the doctor. They noticed it was yellow. They did x-rays again. And this time, instead of just getting a top-down view, they got a 360 view of my arm. And then when they looked at it from the side, like actually like getting from like where the bone was showing on the side.
Did it completely cut your veins?
Huh?
Did it cut your veins?
it pinched my vein.
Oh, so you weren't getting blood. You weren't getting blood to your arm.
I wasn't getting blood to my arm because part of the like so a blood vessel is very, very skinny. And the capillaries are extremely skinny. Part of the blood vessel was pinched off. So I was only getting like maybe 5% of my blood flow through my arm. So it wasn't fully like getting blood because it had pinched. So they looked at the x-ray and they noticed.
I'm surprised it didn't cut. I'm surprised it didn't cut.
I was surprised too. A lot of the doctors were really surprised. Um, so the bone was like this.
So it basically became like a hook for the blood vessels and kept them from
Yeah,
going through. Wow. Bro,
yeah,
you had an
and
anchor in your arm.
yeah. So they
Yeah.
basically had to dislocate my arm to pull the
Mhm.
blood vessel out from the crack. They had to pull the blood vessel out from the crack, and then put my arm back in, and I had a cast all the way from my shoulder, from up here, all the way down to my
Did they
hand.
fuse the bone back together?
No,
Did they fuse
because
it back together?
from the pressure of the swelling, it started healing. I have a bigger humerus than most people do because it started fusing itself back together at that level because of the pressure from the swelling.
Oh,
It caused,
basically it becomes bigger and stronger.
yeah,
The bone became bigger and stronger, actually. What
yeah.
the, bro's freaking Captain America, dude. Bro's
It
freaking Captain
basically just,
America.
so they just cast it to where it was. I couldn't move my arm for like, I think it was like 9 weeks. I could not use my arm at all. And I was sitting there going, my arm itches every day. I'm like, fucking coat hanger. But yeah, that's one of many broken bones. Um, I have a pinky toe that is sideways because I cut the bitch off. That's a funny story in itself. Yeah, my pinky toe on my right side. I was 7 years old. I was playing in my neighbor's yard with a couple of my friends from the neighborhood, and I stepped on a piece of glass. Well, the glass went right through my pinky toe and basically cut it off. It was being held on by like one
It
piece of
severed it.
skin. I severed it. Like it was being held on by one piece of skin. My oldest brother had to pick
What's
me
that
up.
squishy thing? What's that squishy thing moving around in my shoe? What is that?
No,
What
I
is
was
that?
barefoot. That was
Oh
the thing.
my
I was
goodness, let's
barefoot.
go.
I was
Oh,
barefoot. So that's how I cut it off so easily.
I'll feel
Um,
something. What's missing? Oh no. Ah,
I didn't even feel it until my oldest brother looks at my foot and goes, "Oh crap!" He grabs me off the tree, picks me up, runs me back inside. My parents run me to the hospital. The doctor's like, "Oh, it's still attached somewhat. We can just stitch it on." Yeah, doctor didn't look at the orientation of my toe. It literally is okay. So normal toe. So it looks like, so this is the normal toe, right? You can see the top of the nail on the top, right? That's my toe. The nail literally grows. The pinky toe nail literally grows on the side of my foot. It makes it easier for cutting toenails Because all I gotta do is turn my foot to the side and go click.
Um, but I know, like, you asked me quite a few times before this interview, like I would also, like, when you were telling me you want me to be a co-host, it would be like, it would be great to get a view from someone who has disabilities and like me and growing up like that. And I know you
Yeah,
were always wondering about that.
yeah. I was wondering, like, because you with disabilities, it's not a limitation, as I like to put it. I have many friends who have Down syndrome, who have cerebral palsies, and honestly, their parents love me um, a lot. And I asked one of the parents one time, like, why do you love me so much? And everything. And they're like, well, pure and simple. You treat my son like he's normal. I'm like, that's because he is. No, no, he has Down syndrome. I'm like, okay, so what? He's normal. And they're like, no, he's special needs. I'm like,
He's a
no,
human being like everyone else.
he's a
He's a
human
human
being.
being like everyone else.
Just because he has some limitations doesn't mean I'm going to treat you special just because you have Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, autism, autistic. It doesn't matter to me. You are a human. You deserve to be treated as such. So I'm going to talk to you like I'm talking to you now. And like I work at GameStop on the weekends
Yep.
part time right now. I do plan on leaving in March because that's when my baby girl comes in, and I plan on doing weekends with my baby girl. Um, that's pure and simple. I have regulars that will not go into the store unless I am there because their son or daughter will not interact with anybody else but me.
Wow, that's interesting.
Like they will not. Like it was crazy as ever. We had this one regular always come in. I knew her son was nonverbal autistic. Nonverbal autistic. He has never said a word in his life, according to her. I was standing there with him. I was talking to his mom, and I asked him a question. The dude talked. She looked at him like the world had just changed. And I went, I kind of like was like surprised. And I was like, man, what's wrong? She goes, that was his first word. I went, say what? He is nonverbal. He does not talk. And I went, you mean to tell me he's talking to me, but he doesn't talk to anybody else?
Not even his own
I'm literally
family.
carrying on a conversation with this kid. Like this kid's like maybe 14, 15 years old. And we're talking Call of Duty. We're talking about Call of Duty. Like he's telling me which Call of Duty he likes the most. And we're carrying on a
What was
conversation.
his favorite Call of Duty? What was his favorite Call of Duty?
I had to respectively correct him um, because he said Call of Duty Advanced Warfare was his.
Hmm. Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, some people
Mm-mm.
like that, but
Mm-mm.
that was not my Call of Duty.
Everybody knows the top Call of Duties that have ever came out, not the new Modern Warfare. You're talking about the original Modern Warfare, which was actually called Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Then it
Yes.
was Modern Warfare 2. Then it was Modern Warfare 3. And freaking those were the games, dude. And it was Black Ops 1, where we got zombies. Oh my God, that was a good one. Black Ops 2. That was another good one. And that's
Yeah.
where like I did not like, but like so people can not like me for this. I do not like Black Ops 3 and I do not like Black Ops 4. And that is really because it just didn't it gave me more of that online feel than that campaign like that we all like the actual people that grew up on. The very first console I ever played was a PS2.
Yeah.
One
My
of the
very,
best PlayStations. One of the
uh,
best PlayStations that had the best games, dude. Bro, Need for Speed Underground, Need for Speed Underground 2 that had Snoop Dogg, freaking what were some other I think Tomb Raider came out at that time.
yep. I'm gonna show my age
Well,
here.
actually, Tomb Raider is older. Okay,
I'm,
Tomb Raider is a pretty older one, but
that's a PlayStation
get
1
that too.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna show my age here because you said you started playing console games on PlayStation 2. This is where that
Oh yeah, I forgot.
generational gap comes in.
You're as old as the Atari.
I started playing on the Atari. I played the Atari
Also, by the way,
2600,
what year were you born?
1985.
Okay, I'm about to give everyone else a history lesson. Everyone says, "Oh yeah, by the way, very first console." Because I ask people this all the time. Very first console, Atari. Everyone picks Atari, but the real OGs. By the way, this is going to show like how much I know because I may be 20, but I've done my research. And all right, and but no, like freaking it was just so interesting to me. So every time I ask, what do you think? I'm gonna ask you, what do you think the very first ever console was? It's not the
It was
Atari,
not
I
the
can tell you
Atari.
that.
It wasn't the Atari. It was actually I cannot remember the name of it, but I do know it was the size of a
What game did
it
it play? What game did it play? What was
it
the
played
one game
Pong.
that was known? Yes. And by the way, I know it, bro. This is gonna show like the difference between our ages. It's the Odyssey Magna that came out in
Yes.
1971 and 1970 when they first brought up the idea, and it was just so freaking cool to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly it was. I knew it was the Odyssey. I knew it was the Odyssey. I was like, but it was like this humongous piece of equipment that most people were looking at going, how's that supposed to be home
Oh,
entertainment?
by the way, they didn't make that much. They didn't make a bunch of them. There's literally one in a museum somewhere in the United States. I can't remember where it was, but they have one in a museum. Like there be very few because the consoles weren't really a thing back then.
No,
So they
no.
came out.
And you want to talk
Yeah.
about age gap? You want to talk about age gap? Something that I grew up with is in the Smithsonian right now. You want to know what that is?
What? What?
A Walkman is in the Smithsonian now.
Wait, what's that?
Oh, shut up.
What is that? I'm
A
just so sorry.
Walkman,
What is that?
a
A Walkman?
Walkman was a portable CD player.
Oh, oh, I remember those. My dad used to have one.
Something I used to play with. Something that I used to grow up on. Used to put burnt
Bro,
CDs
you could have had thousands, bro. You could have had thousands of dollars by now if you saved yours.
and it's in the Smithsonian now. And I'm looking at it going, I'm
I'm never gonna be able to afford one again.
it's like, holy crap. And you want to talk about like scary age things? Okay, like I said earlier, my baby girl. I'm about to become a dad to a baby girl.
I was not nominated. I was not nominated as Uncle Shaggy. If they call me Uncle Shaggy, that's up to them.
Hey, if they call you Uncle Shaggy, that's fine. But I'm about to have a baby girl in March. Okay. My birthday is in May. I am turning 40 this year. I'm technically 39 right now. I did the math, and it scares the crap out of me. I will be 58 years old when my daughter walks across the stage to graduate high school.
My goodness, bro. If that's true, I will be in I'll be your age. I'll be your age, dude. Because I'm turning 21 this year. Oh my goodness. I'll be your age.
You'll be my age when my daughter walks across the stage. I will be 50.
Oh,
I
that's
will
gonna
be
be
my
nostalgia,
dad's
bro.
age. I no, here's
Bro,
the
you're gonna
funny thing.
call me up. You're gonna call me up, just be like, "Hey, bro, you're you're no longer an uncle. You're now the age I was when we first started doing the podcast." Bro,
And
18 years. Oh my
I'll
god.
be that 50-year-old, 58-year-old man still doing a podcast.
Oh my goodness.
So
Oh, but by the way, for everyone else, just so you guys know, anything in the comments that you guys want us to talk about or any discussions, let us know. Um, Also, by the way, like Terry was going on earlier. I also have a few people that we're going to be interviewing. One's going to be Mr. Frown. He's very well known on TikTok. He ended up had a 500,000 followers on TikTok and ended up getting rid of it. And we'll talk about that in his interview. And he restarted one, and it just blew up within days. Like he's already like almost at 15,000, 20,000 already, and it's just keeps on growing. And then another one that we have, I got Viorvo and the Anime Dads podcast.
looking forward
They're
to that
working
one
it.
actually,
I
because
was telling, bro. I was telling Viorvo. I was like, Broski, can you help me? Because I was asking him to help me with like he's the comic relief, just like I am. He's the comic relief in their podcast, and they actually got to interview Chuck Huber, my friend, and back in 23, and it was just so interesting to talk with him, do our voices, and I was telling Bjorbo, I was like, when we do this interview, it's gonna be podcast interviewing podcast. Let's go. And it literally, me and him are just gonna be in the background, just being like saying, while you guys are improving, while you guys are just having your normal conversation. You both look at us like, Yorvo, Shaggy, behave.
be
I
like,
behave.
so uh,
I'm
it's been a
looking forward to
wonderful.
that, man. I hope you are too.
So it's been wonderful talking with you tonight, Shaggy. It's been wonderful getting to
Yep.
know you a little bit more. For everybody, thank you for joining us tonight here on the Multiverse podcast. We will be trying to do one every 2 weeks or once every week on the podcast. Definitely going to be consistent with this, and definitely looking forward to getting to know you guys and looking forward to growing with you guys. To all my day one guys here on the Multiverse Not podcast, thank you all for joining us tonight, and I love you all. As we always end our podcast together, we all wish you nothing but peace, love,
But
and
peace,
happiness.
love.
We'll all see you on the flip side. All right.